My coach is Professor Rob Bernacki from Island Top Team Nanaimo, and he's got a very conceptual approach to Jiu-Jitsu. He was inspired by guys like Ryan Hall and Eddie Cummings, who were talking more about conceptual Jiu-Jitsu as opposed to just learning moves. And so Rob developed the theory of alignment, which is essentially posture, structure, base. It's the whole foundation of our system based on human biomechanics, not necessarily based on memorizing moves and regurgitating sequences. So it's the actual physics and mechanics behind Jiu-Jitsu.
Counterattack.
Oh, nice.
Let's go, Kwan! Let's go, Kwan! Yeah, buddy! That's right, that's right!
Jiu-Jitsu is extremely complicated. The thing is, for me, is I've never really found it super complicated, and that's because I feel so connected to it. That's how I knew that this was kind of what I should be doing, because I'd look around at other people and they'd find it incredibly complicated, whereas I would just sort of have a knack for it, I guess is the way to say it. There are things, don't get me wrong, that are extremely intricate and complicated in Jiu-Jitsu. Jiu-Jitsu is so complicated that you could be a doctor in the amount of time that it takes to get a black belt. It's a lifetime study. You can never learn it all. My previous career, cooking, is the same thing. Cooking, you will never master cooking, and the term master gets thrown around a lot, and especially in Jiu-Jitsu it gets thrown around a lot, and I truly believe that cooking as well as Jiu-Jitsu are things that I can never master. There's no such thing as mastering Jiu-Jitsu, okay? Relative to the average person, maybe I've mastered Jiu-Jitsu, but I believe that you can't learn everything. It's just impossible. It's so vast, and that's why it really is a lifetime study, and that's why I keep striving to keep studying even as a black belt. I'm not satisfied with my level of knowledge, and I don't think I ever will be.
Keep this hook until you have the ability to grab my hip. So grab my hip underneath with this hand.
Yeah, and that's come up.
There. Now put the other, and put the other foot behind my knee. Okay, so here. Now as you pull yourself inside, pull me on top of you with your hands. Now extend your feet away. Now turn your knee up. Now, when you're here, this knee is going to internally rotate. See that control? It's the exact same thing as the leg drag. Do it one more time.
Well, I think people have different approaches. At my school, everyone who comes in the door is expected to, quote, check their ego, right? Now, I don't think we have a saying, right? Like, leave your ego at the door. It's like a cliche in martial arts. The thing is if you want to be a fighter, the truth is you have to have an ego. I think it's valuable to learn when to engage that ego and when to reel it back. For example, if I'm in the training room and I'm trying to learn and grow, I have to put my ego aside and be willing to put myself into bad positions. Even with lower ranks, like right now I have some purple belts that are just like world-class purple belts. Seriously, on any world stage could compete with anyone. And when I go with them, I know they're trying to kill me, and I could approach our training like, oh, I can't lose to you because I'm the black belt. But instead, I look at it like, this is a chance for me to grow. I'm not necessarily concerned if I get submitted by you, or or if I lose my guard to you or whatever. It's having an ego where you can never lose it creates a toxic environment, especially as a head instructor and as a gym owner, and then it rubs off on people where they feel like they can never lose, and that basically inhibits growth. Now, if I'm going into a competition, let's say I want to compete at the ADCCs or at an IBJJF event, I have to now make a switch, where in training I don't want to lose. Now I have to train to win, so I'm going to go harder than I would normally go. My mindset changes. So I think one of the most unhealthy things for a competitor to do is to not have an ego. But you don't want to let your ego take over your training. You don't want to let it spoil the environment in the room or spoil the growth in the room. I think it's really important to be able to use your ego as a weapon and as a learning tool, but reel it back when necessary. I think really training mentally for whatever competition you're gonna do is one of the biggest things that sets us apart locally here, especially for the kids program. That's one of the main things I try and teach the kids is let's have an understanding of the point system, because that will be our ace in the hole when it comes to competition day. You'll know where you can score your points. You'll know how to deny your opponents the scores that they're looking for. And if there's no submission when the time runs out, it's all about who's ahead on the scoreboard, right? And so that should be a huge focus for training, is understanding that. I had done 3 tournaments in 3 days. So I did the Masters Worlds, lost my first match by 2 points. Then I did the Vegas Open, and I think I lost my match, my first match by an advantage or something. So I had close matches, but I couldn't do anything in the gi. And then the third day was no gi. It was the Vegas Open no gi. And I had 3 matches before Bruno. I submitted all 3 of the opponents. I felt like I was on fire. A really big match for me at the time. That was the biggest name I had ever fought. Bruno Frazado is obviously a legend, and that was a time when heel hooks and reaping were not allowed in the IBJJF, so I couldn't initiate like the leg locks that I wanted. He was just too experienced, very technically sound, knew exactly how to play the points. I think we went out of bounds at one point, and I made a crucial error of standing up when we were set in the middle, and then he pulled guard, which is just the dumbest, most rookie mistake ever. I should have just stayed on my butt and scooted towards the center, but instead I stood up, we started on the feet, and he beat me to a guard pull. And then from there he swept me, passed me, mounted me. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't, if I really didn't want to lose, or if I said that I didn't care if I won, I should say. And a big part of it is because there's a lot of people, like the kids in my program, that like look up to me and whatnot, and nobody likes to lose. But to say that I'm scared at this point in my journey, I don't think scared is the word that I would use to describe it, because I understand that there has to be a winner and a loser. So it's not like I'm afraid. I understand that you can't always win. Maybe afraid of getting injured, But but other than that, am I afraid to lose? Not really, because at this point I've had my fair share of losses, and I just understand it's part of the learning process. At this point in my life, rather than being afraid to lose, I think I'm more excited to prove myself worthy of a victory. I get excited now when it comes to a competition because I want to see my opponents solve the puzzle of my most current state, right? I'm better now at jiu-jitsu than I've ever been in my life, and if you asked me that in a year, I would say the same thing. So I'm a puzzle, just like everyone is who steps on the mats, and I want to see if I can solve my opponent's puzzle, and I want to see if they can solve my puzzle. So I'm now at this point, it's more of a feeling of excitement that I get to see if I can prove myself and make fewer mistakes than my opponent, as opposed to I'm afraid that I'm going to lose or whatnot.
To his knee. Right hand to his knee next time. Elbow back on his hip, Matt. Good. Create a scaffold here, buddy. That's good, Matt. Nice job.
In terms of going into competition, like how I address the nerves and things like that, I think of a few different things. I think about the training that I've put in and to trust my instincts. I also, when I get nervous, I remember my opponent is also nervous and that we're sharing the same feelings. It's not just me feeling that. One of the things that's really helped me psychologically when it's coming up, maybe it's a week out from fight week or 2 weeks out, and I think about the competition and I start to feel nerves and my heart rate increases and whatnot. I like to, instead of running from that feeling, I like to put myself right into the fire and just imagine being there, mat side, ready to go when you're most stressed right before you're about to step on. And I imagine, like, what does the mats feel like? What does the crowd sound like? What does my heart feel like as I can feel like it really increasing? Now I'm imagining I'm stepping onto the mats. I shake my partner's hand. Like, what does this feel like? I'm looking at them in the eye. We're about to go, and how I feel my adrenaline starting to spike. How does that feel? What does it feel like after a minute when you get taken down? You're down 2 points, and now they're blitzing your guard. And your lungs are starting to burn and your muscles are starting to ache. Like, what is the feeling of that, as opposed to just saying, I'm going to ignore those feelings because they make me uncomfortable. So a lot of my approach to jiu-jitsu and competition is to try to force myself to become comfortable with discomfort. And it's I think it's one of the greatest tools that will help anyone in jiu-jitsu and in life.
Keep going, shake it off.
But I'd definitely love to get that match back, and to be able to go so far in a tournament like that. I finished with silver. It was just it was an awesome experience. I can't lie. And he was getting ready to do 80 cc's later that year. That was sort of like a warm up for him, I guess. And I felt really good that day, and to be able to look back on that performance with the 3 opponents previous, is always going to be a great memory in my mind and something to build on for the next tournament.
Everyone is so excited, and we can, even just looking at the color of your belt, we can tell it's time to. You got a gray belt. There's a guy. Shared hotel rooms with this guy on trips, gone through battles with this guy in the gym and in competition, and I can honestly say that he's shown through character and ability on the mats as an instructor, as a practitioner, that he's ready for the black belt. And hopefully I'm ready to give you a black belt. And man, I really don't have much else to say, and I'm super proud of who you are as a grappler, as a person. It's an honor to do this, and It's time for you to get your black belt though. No, I'm just looking at it.
It should be like that. I think everyone has the right to defend themselves. Everyone has the right to compete in a fair playing field, and everyone has the right of bodily autonomy. And that's all. I know that's like a pretty classical liberal stance, and the truth is that like I grew up pretty classically liberal, but I feel like with the political landscape shifting so far to the left now, there's a lot of classical liberals who find themselves center or even center right because the window is shifted so far. I knew in my heart that what I was saying was right, and as time has played out, it looks like I was on the right side of history after all.